Welcome to the Fight with Teddy Atlas, presented by Dynamic Striking. I'm Ken Rideout, joined as always by the legend, Boxing Hall of Famer, the great Teddy Atlas. Teddy, how you doing? Happy Easter.
Yeah, happy Easter to you and your family. Hope it was great. And also to all our fans out there who celebrate that. And happy Passover and happy Ramadan and everything. Hopefully I cover all bases. And here we are at Marathon Update Headquarters, live in Boston, where the Boston Marathon just finished. And my guy here just finished the marathon. I don't know how many marathons you've run now in your career, but you just finished the marathon. You took a quick shower. You're at your hotel in Boston. Give us the live update. I know you ran a 2:30, which is remarkable. I know that you won your age group of 50 and over. Tell us what you can. Give us an update on the race, the weather, how difficult it was, and your expectations if they were fulfilled.
Yeah, thank you. Race is actually still going on. When I say I just finished, I just finished, ran back to the hotel, took a shower. I ran 2 hours, 30 minutes and 20 seconds. I had hoped I would run just under 2:30. I went through the first half at 1:12, feeling good, but it's very fast first half. It's pretty much downhill for the first half, and then you hit like Heartbreak Hill, which is a series of like 4 hills from 16 to 21 miles, which is super debilitating. But even when I got through there at 22, I still thought, okay, I could run 2:27, 2:28 in the last 2 miles. Oh my God. It was a death march. I didn't even think I would be able to finish. It was just all like guts and heart, just trying to
championship rounds, right? I mean,
championship rounds. They literally that's what it felt like someone was trying to kill me and I was trying to fend them off. It was that kind of desperation in my mind of like, I'm hurting. I desperately want to stop. And I was just telling Rob, people were doing to me what I wanted to do to them. They were running by me with authority, like, yes, I saved a little bit for the end. And they were just storming past me. And I was like, oh, this is insult to injury to see someone just run by the way they're supposed to. And I was just holding it together. But it is what it is. I won my age group 50 and over. I've now won Boston and New York, second in London, and I'm going to do Chicago and Berlin in the fall. And that will only leave Tokyo left to do for the marathon majors. But all in all, great day. I was lucky enough to ride the pro bus out there with my friend Des Linden, who won Boston in 2018. Just a great day. The weather was perfect. There was a vicious headwind all day, which just kind of stinks, but it is what it is. Everyone had the same conditions. At
least it wasn't warm, right? The worst thing is
exactly. The colder, the better, assuming it's not below freezing, but it was in the high 40s, which is perfect running condition. It was just perfect condition. It's just a super, super hard course. And,
No, you did great. You did great. You did tremendous. I can't wait until we can get the results as far as where you place, in the Masters. The Masters is 40 and over, right?
Yeah. That's a big one. Yeah, that's a big deal. The winner of that, they put their name on the start line on like some bricks where they put the winners of the different divisions every year. It's there forever. I think there were a couple legit professional runners that were like 40, 41 years old. So we'll see. I'll find out in the next couple hours. The award ceremony is in like an hour and a half at Fenway. So I'll go over there and see where I finished in the Masters division.
Congratulations. Good job.
Thank you, Ted. I appreciate you. But exciting weekend. I love that this race is on a Monday. That means I could stay up late watching the fights on Saturday. And oh my God, Errol Spence did not disappoint. Wow, Teddy. I don't think he could have looked better. I mean, he had that one instance, and I have a million questions for you about the mouthpiece. The mouthpiece fell off, I think, in the 6th round, and he looked down. I mean, it was all his own fault. He looked down, waited for the ref to stop it. The ref didn't stop it, and Ugas cracked him and had him hurt against the ropes, really hurt. Probably the most hurt I've ever seen Spence, but you'll correct me if I'm wrong. And of course, Spence behaved like a champion, came back strong. I mean, the pressure he put on Ugas for me was just incredible. He was relentless. and the damage to the eye. And here's another example, Teddy, of a busted eye, a busted orbital. Ugas refuses to quit. The eye couldn't have been worse. It was closed shut. The doctor kept asking him. You could tell when the doctor asks the fighter, like, can you see? As soon as the fighter says no, he knows the fight's over. So it's an easy way to get out if you want out. And if, look, if you can't see, you can't see. But we all know that if you say you can't see, the fight's over. And the guys like Arturo Gatti type guys, Ugas, Inoue, they'll tell you they can see if both eyes are closed. But he kept going. Turns out he has a badly damaged orbital bone, broken orbital bone. And, you feel for Ugas, but my God, Errol Spence looks great. So I've got a couple things. So I'm dying to hear your thoughts on the fight, but also dying to hear what you think Spence and Crawford now, given Spence's that recent performance from Saturday. Also, when that mouthpiece came out, part of me is like, dude, it's a fight. The mouthpiece comes out. The ref should just say, okay, you lost your mouthpiece. At the end of the round, we can get it back. But this, like, waiting until there's a break in the action, you could tell Spence wasn't clear on that, and he got cracked, and it almost cost him. But I want to talk to you about that mouthpiece rule as well. So first off, what did you think of the fight?
Well, I'll just touch on one thing real quick that you just said. I name another guy that eye could be closed. Both eyes could be closed. He's still going. Carmen Basilio, the late Carmen Basilio, Hall of Famer, former welterweight champion, has a win over Sugar Ray Robinson. He lost to Robinson too. Obviously, everybody who beat Sugar Ray Robinson, they lost in a rematch. That's one of the things that made Robinson so special, so great. But to your point, yeah, there's a few guys that's the choice they make. That's the code they live by. But as far as this fight, we called it. We won it. If you went to, if you bet with my booking, go to the window and collect, baby, because we don't get them all right. But I remember almost verbatim saying, hey, he's a counterpuncher. Styles make fights. Ugas is a counterpuncher. He's not a real busy guy. He got outworked by Pacquiao, but he landed the southpaw killers, the hard right hands against Pacquiao, enough to win that fight. But it was close. I felt that fight was close. Again, he got outworked by Pacquiao. And I said it emphatically. He is not outworking Spence. I tell you right now, his only chance to win is to knock him out, to hurt him. Actually, that was the words. I said to hurt, and he did hurt him. Different circumstances led to it. But look, it don't matter. At the end of the day, he hurt him. But I also said that I felt Spence had a good enough chin to survive anything. If he got to that place, and he did get to that place, I thought he could survive it. I also thought his defense was good enough that he's not going to get tagged all night long. And I just felt that Spence he had this style to really counter the counterpunch. And I don't mean counter him literally. I mean to counter that style where you cannot be an effective counterpuncher, Ken, if there's nothing to counter. And when a guy's got a good jab and he uses it, like Spence. See, I said this a long time ago before it was as popular to say, where Spence is not just an aggressive guy. He's a well-rounded, fundamentally, technically solid fighter. He was an Olympian. He's not just a seek and destroy missile. He is a guy that, as I said, is an all-around good boxer. And he uses a jab. That's why Mikey Garcia, I know he was smaller, but he couldn't counterpunch because Spence doesn't allow you to counterpunch, because when a guy uses a jab at the right range, at the right distance, effectively, you can't counter him. There's nothing to counter. He wants you to reach like Pacquiao did a little bit, and Pacquiao's not as fast as he used to be, so he got caught. But he used to get away with that. Pacquiao used to run red lights and get away because he had spectacular speed. Excuse me. He was like a Ferrari running a red light. No cop was going to catch him. You know what I mean? And Spence uses that jab at the right range to clear the way. And as he's coming with that, You can't count them. There's no space. There's no reaching. You know, there's no opportunities to sneak in those counters. So I knew if he took that game away from Ugas, he was dead in the water. Game over. Game over. Really, for the most part. Game over. And this was a one-sided fight. A good one-sided fight. Because the early part was a chess game. Both guys trying to get what they wanted. Ugas trying to get the counters. Spence trying to make sure he don't counter, not get careless, and be the boss. Establish a rhythm. You know, start to burn the house down, so to speak. So, but then once we got to the sixth, and we had that, you know, we had the drama that we had in the fifth, sixth. It became all Spence. He took over. He started taking the building apart brick by brick, taking the building apart. And what happened? I mean, there's three things basically, or that you have to do to nullify a counterpuncher. Number one, or really basically, well, and in this case, he had to do two or three things. One was use the jab, as I just said. The other is the strength of Ugas, besides his style of counterpunching, is that he's pretty good defensively. How do you dismantle a guy defensively? Put water in the basement. Go to the body. He flooded out the basement. Flooded it out. I mean, you know, so he understood very well what the game plan had to be, what he had to do. He, of course, again, being Spence, of what he had to do against this particular fighter. And he understood, you know, what he couldn't do. He couldn't get caught with reaching in, getting over anxious. He couldn't get caught with the right-handed southpaw killer. And he did, but he survived it because he had a good enough chin. And in the sixth round, the reason he got caught, and you touched on it, he got hit on the side, the mouthpiece went flying, and he made a big boo-boo. He looked, he let his focus go. You can't let your focus go in anything that you do at this level. And he did. You know, I mean, it would be like driving a Ferrari, a race car in Indianapolis 500, right? You're driving it, Ken, and then all of a sudden a tire goes flying by your window. Really. And it could happen. It could happen. That's a real possibility. And you do this, Ken. You can't do that. You can't look at the tire fly. You got to let it fly. You can't look because you're gonna crash into the wall. So that's what happened. He looked at the tire flying. He looked at the mouthpiece, and he got caught a good right hand because of it. But I'll tell you something the commentators missed, Ken. I didn't miss it. I don't know. I get lucky sometimes. I went back to make sure. About 30 seconds before that tire went flying, before the mouthpiece went flying, Ugas had his back to the ropes, facing the ropes, and Spence was on the attack. And all of a sudden, I'm curious if you saw this, Ken. He stumbled back 2 steps. He just stumbled back, and then he went back at it. He caught himself, and he went back at it. The announcer said nothing. And I'm saying, wait a minute, something happened there. So I went back, and I watched it. He got caught a right hand. Got caught a short, beautiful right hand by Ugas. Beautiful, just boom, right inside, bang, right inside. He might have been throwing a left hook, and bang, he got caught a right hand, and he staggered back 2 steps. That's what caused that. And then 30 seconds later, of course, the mouthpiece goes out, and he gets caught that real clean right hand that hurt him. Now, here's another part. I try to touch everything. We pride ourselves in being the X-ray division of boxing, right? The CAT scan of boxing. Did the referee Did the referee, I know there's fans out there going to be glad I'm touching this, and if they'd be probably saying, why didn't you say something? We were looking for somebody to answer our question. But did the referee get too involved, and did he save him? Did he save him? Did he give him home cooking? Now, I don't say that he did, but when his mouthpiece went flying, the rule is when there's a lull in action, you replace it. Now, was there a lull in action at that point? I don't know. I'm honest. I'm not sure. It's close. It's a close call. But he did decide, Lawrence Cole, the referee, did decide to step in. A very experienced guy. He was calling fights when I was doing the Fight Night fights for all those years on ESPN. He decided to step in at that moment, replace the mouthpiece. It did give him time to recover. Would he have recovered without? See, that's the $1 million question. Would he have covered? And nobody talked about it. That's the funny part about it. But would he have recovered without that? It's kind of like the long count with Jack Dempsey and Gene Tunney. You know, when the Marcus and Queensberry rules were just put in place. In old days, you used to drop a guy and you could stand right over him. Yeah, Ken. You could stand right over him, and as soon as a knee came off, bang, you get in him again. That was the first Marcus and Queensberry rules fight where you had to go to a neutral corner if you scored a knockdown. Dempsey scored a knockdown in that first fight with the great Gene Tunney and a great Jack Dempsey, obviously, too. And it was for Dempsey's title. And he didn't go to the corner. He forgot the rules. So it took maybe 4 seconds for the referee to get him to the neutral corner before he could pick up the count. So the count was probably 14 seconds instead of 10 seconds. So a lot of people, they called it it's a historic fight. They called it the long count. And a lot of people said, wait. Would he have survived if Dempsey, hadn't wasted that 4 seconds getting, pushed to a neutral corner? I think he would have. I think Tunney would have. And I think in this case, Spence would have recovered. That's my feeling. But it is something that took place. It did become intangible, if you will, in the fight. And I'm sure that some people were thinking the same thing. Gee, did he have to step in at that moment? And if he didn't, what would have happened? But from that point on, man, the floodgates were open. I think I tweeted out, and Rob was putting them up there for me as always. If it's not him, it's Ian, who's tremendous. He's always in a bullpen for us, and appreciate the hell out of him to get those tweets up for me, because I'm a caveman. I don't know how to get them up. I only know how to write them.
It's good to have teammates like Ian that can show up. They never are unavailable. Rob,
and not only show up, but he's like Rob. He does the job at the level that you want it done.
Just never any excuses, never any BS. Just like, hey, we're recording this day, or hey, we need tweeting this time. Just yep, whatever you need. Just like professionalism.
I had tweeted that it was like high tide coming in at the shore. It came in. It came in. And it was taking everything on the beach. It was taking everything. And Ugas had built a sandcastle, and man.
Sandcastle, Teddy, he was taking cars from the parking lot. That was just, oh my God.
But I always feel sad when I see those kids make the sandcastle, and then all of a sudden the wave just wipes it out. And he tried to move the sandcastle back. His heart kept him in it. No, it was hard, but the waves kept coming. They kept coming.
It got the kids' sandcastle, the parents' chairs, the cooler, the umbrella. Everything was gone.
Yeah, the tanning lotion, everything. And so, it just he didn't stop. Body and head and body, uppercuts mixed in. Chose all the right
The punch selection was crazy.
Well, there was only 2 he needed on the inside. Body and uppercuts. That's all he needed. That's the only, because the body was going to cause him to lean a little. The uppercut was going to do the job. So he was going up and down beautifully. And he just, he kept pouring it on. And again, the only thing that kept Ugas in the fight that long was his, his heart. His heart was as unrelenting as the pressure was from Spence. The couple things I got to throw in there quick with that, though, is that the fighters were obviously fan-friendly. But I tell you, the referee wasn't. He might have been in there too much during the night. Just too many times, showing himself in that fight. He wasn't as fan-friendly as the fighters. And the thing that I got to say also, because they went to the corner, you could hear the corner. And in one time, it kind of drove me nuts, Ken. Tell me how you feel about this, and the fans out there, if they were thinking the same thing. But you're hearing it clear what they're saying. And so he's getting he's getting beaten from the South Pole to the North Pole. And he comes back in the corner, and the corner says, how you feeling? Well, what kind of question is that? Ken, how about saying you want a pepperoni pizza? It makes about as much sense. I mean, how you feeling? I'd like once where the fighter could say what he wants to say probably. Like, how the F do you think I'm feeling? You want to step in here and give me a break for a couple rounds? I mean, come on. Really? And then later in the fight, when it's the same thing, and then all of a sudden the corner says that was a better round. A better Whyte, because you got to hit 110 times instead of 142. I mean, he goes, that was better. And then the fighter replied, so unusual. The fighter replied and said, why? Yeah. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, the commentators, I would have commented on that, the fight, because that basically told you it was over. I mean, we knew it was maybe over, but that kind of told you when a fighter says, why are you telling me that was bad? What did I do? Like, basically what he's saying is, what did I do for you to say it was better? What did I do? Not die? I don't know. I just...
Have you ever seen Spence look better? I don't remember seeing him look this good.
I've seen him look about as good, but no. With that level of fighter, to your question, better? No. He looked the way that you want Spence to look. A relentless fighting machine that's also technically sound. And, he goes to the body, he goes to the head, his punches are delivered the right way, his footing is right, his balance is right. Like I said, he pays attention to technical detail. I'll tell you what I walked away with it is, the only fight we want to see, of course, now is him and Crawford. And
they seem to both want it.
And it reminds me of Hearns Leonard. It does. It reminds me when that was the welterweight fight that everybody wanted. It reminds me it's going to be a big fight. It's going to be now. It's good that it waited. It's good that it marinated. It really is, because now it's really going to be a big fight. And what became obvious to me, I'd be interested to see what my bookie says, but that Spence will be the favorite. There's no doubt about that. I feel he'll be the favorite now. And most people, a lot of boxing people, most writers, I think most of the writers, they will feel that now off of this, Spence will win based on he's too big, he's too strong, and he's too relentless for the smaller man who's moved up to his third weight class. But so most people will think that, except for one, the guy you're talking to.
I figured.
And I'll get into that when the fight is made. When the fight is made, and we need to talk about it in that kind of way, who's going to win and all that stuff, and the possibilities of, winning and what each guy has to do. I'll get into it then. But I'll tell you right now, I'm not one of the guys that – I love Spence, always have. But I'm not one of the guys who's jumping on. I still feel I know what I know about both guys and about Crawford. And yeah, he looked great. He looked great, Spence. But it does not deter me from my thinking and my opinion that Mr. Crawford is I like him, and it'll be a hell of a fight. It'll be a hell of a fight and a hell of a test for both men. The only thing I give you off of it is Crawford has the ability to, as Spence, to adapt to different things, but he's got the instincts, and he's carried his power up in weight because you're gonna have to get Mr. Spence's attention. You're gonna have to do that. You're gonna have to ring the doorbell. Yeah, you're gonna have to ring the doorbell. But he's got the instincts that I haven't seen him too often. Those kind of instincts that Crawford has, and he's a junkyard dog. And Spence is too. But anyway, it'll be a hell of a fight.
Yeah, that was all. It was just great. But yeah, everyone's looking forward to that. Let's jump over to the UFC and a rematch of Vicente Luque and Belal Muhammad. I think it was UFC 206. Luque knocked out Muhammad in the first round, if I'm not mistaken. And since then, Belal's been on a 7-fight win streak. He had the no contest against Leon Edwards where he got the really bad eye poke. But other than that, he's been dominant. He won a unanimous decision, handled his business. You know, I think Luque might have won 1 round on 2 scorecards and 2 on another, but pretty much lopsided decision for Belal Muhammad. He keeps getting it done. So congratulations to Belal Muhammad. How'd you like that one?
So he had to do 3 things. I liked it a lot because I give a lot of credit to Muhammad for having just a superior fight plan, an excellent fight plan, strategy, and he executed it almost flawlessly. He only lost 1 round, and then he got back to work with that fight plan, and he had to do 3 things to win that fight. The first thing was not an easy thing. The first thing was not a physical thing. So much as it was a mental thing. He had to get rid of the ghost from the attic of what you just mentioned, of that first fight. Yeah, it was 2016, a long time ago. I get it, but he got knocked out in 1 round. And he had to get those he had to get those ghosts out of the Belfry. And he did. And the way he was, it was important to win. I don't say everyone has to win the first round. When you're coming off a knockout loss in a rematch to the guy that you had lost to, yeah, you got to win the first round if you're going to have a chance to win the fight, pretty much, because that helps get the ghost out of the attic. It gets your confidence back, gives you something to build on. And so that was brilliant. He knew he had to do that. And how did he do it? Well, he did it in 2 ways. First of all, he understands the one place he has an advantage, Muhammad, is on the mat. Grappling and doing his thing on the mat. But he knew that if that's all he concentrated on, that he would be predictable. And he also knew that there would be times that he would have to at least hold his own, survive, find a way while striking to be able to, at the very least, not get hurt, not get caught, and be able to manage on his feet while doing these periods, during these striking periods. And he found a way to do that. Again, it wasn't likely that he would be able to be on the mat for 25 minutes. So he had to come up with the right strategy during the times that he was going to be striking. And he did it, and he also had to come up with a way to mix in getting on the mat enough to be able to also grab parts of rounds where he killed time and he was the boss in his environment on the mat. And he did it brilliantly. He won the first round, got the ghost out of there, and he used his legs to box. He used his legs to keep Luque from getting set to really administer the strikes that he wanted to. Now, there was one round, I think it was the third round, where Luque, with his pressure, because he was really bringing the pressure, Ken, with his pressure and with his accurate strikes, effective, impactful, where he was feeling them, a couple left hands there. With those strikes, those straight left hands, there were moments there where Luque looked like between that and the pressure, he was going to start to break down Muhammad, wear him down, like we talked about the Ugas fight, where Ugas got worn down. I was saying, and I even tweeted that this pressure is starting to take a toll on Muhammad. I don't know if he's got the petrol in the tank to get all the way home, to make it all the way home. It made me think of that movie, Justice for All, with Al Pacino. That was a great movie, where he went with that crazy judge. He used to have his lunch out on the ledge because he was suicidal. He was suicidal, the judge.
Yeah.
And so he took this lawyer, Pacino, on a helicopter ride, and Pacino's scared of heights. He didn't want to go, but it's the judge, and he needs a favor from the judge. So he goes, and he's up there, and he heard all the rumors. He saw it, that the judge is suicidal. So he's up there, and he goes, I play a little game. So Pacino was great. Pacino goes, what kind of game? He's up in the air. He goes, what kind of game do you play? He goes, well, I calculate how much gas I got, to get back, and then I go a little past the halfway mark. What? We went past the halfway mark? Yeah, but then I try to get back in time. Don't worry, we're gonna make it. And then he's going back, and he's like this. He's going, oh my God, he's praying. And then it started to sputter. Pop, 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 pop. And they, it's gonna crash. And he's like screaming. But they made it almost sure. They didn't get hurt. And that was a good movie. That's what I thought. And Rob's gonna get that up. I know. I didn't tell him ahead of time. But that's what I thought, Ken. Will he get back? Will he get home? Will he get to the fifth round and finish it up? And that was another great thing, because he understood that if the pressure maintained itself like that, he probably wouldn't get back home. So what he did was he got on his horse, on his bicycle, moving his legs even more, and he pot shotted in between. He pot shotted just enough in between to win parts of the round and to get the respect of Luque and keep Luque from getting dominant. He never quite let the pressure get in full gear where it was choking. He never quite let that happen. He broke up Luque's rhythm enough in three different ways. Using his legs while he was striking, keeping him off balance, not letting him get set, and then pot shotting in between, catching him shots in between. And then at the right time, when Luque wasn't ready, bang, take the shoot and get him on the floor. And then he used that to recuperate, to get a little reprieve, like a pit stop in a race, in Indianapolis, I said earlier, whatever in those kind of races where you get to pull into the pit and you get to refuel. He used it that way. I thought, and it took a lot of discipline to do that. And he did it around Ramadan. I'm not making that a big thing, but it could be a big thing. But
it is a big thing. He was fasting for a week, and his whole team joined him.
And listen, I think that you do get certain dispensations with the religion if you're doing something athletic or something where you need to eat a little. I think there are special. I'm not 100%, but I think there are special dispensations where you could be allowed to maybe, eat a little something, whatever, if you're doing something like athletic that is going to, that obviously there's a need to have some nutrient in you, I think. But either way, it did add to it was an X factor, and it did add, to what he had to deal with. He had to deal with fighting a guy who had knocked him out in one round, and a guy who's a tremendous striker, very strong, and with Ramadan, not being able to be on your normal schedule of eating, which is so important to an athlete and, of course, to a fighter. So he handled that. In some ways, I think he turns it around and he uses it as a plus. A lot of people are going to say, how, Ted? If he couldn't eat maybe quite as well, how's that a plus? Well, I think he found a way to eat what he had to. But number two, spiritually, it's a plus. Because why are you doing it? You're doing it because of what you believe in. And if you're doing it, even under these circumstances, you feel that you're doing the right thing and that will be with you. You will be served by doing what you, in a religion can be very powerful, very powerful. And so you're doing something in a spiritual way, and obviously you believe that it will benefit you. And mental part is so important in these things. So it's 75% of it. So here you are believing that you got the upper hand because of what you're doing with your religion. So in that way, I really do. I think it's interesting, and that's why I brought it up, because I think it is interesting. But he was brilliant. He executed. You got to have a fight plan. He had a fight plan. He like I said, he kept them more balanced. He pot shotted. He took the shoots at the right time. And except for one round where it looked like the pressure was going to get to him. But again, give him credit. The next round, what's he do? He puts an end to that. He puts an end to it. He puts an end to it. He behaves like a champion, in other words. He behaves like a fighter. He goes out there. He doesn't continue to go down the hill. He now steadies the ship, and what's he do? He goes out there and he keeps them off balance. He pot shots them more. He gets to shoot when he needs it. He wins. I felt he won 4 rounds. The one thing, 4 out of 5 rounds. The one thing that I got to say about, I talked about the corner, Ken, in the Ugas fight. I got to talk about it here. I thought that after 4 rounds, he was down 3-1. I really did. I felt pretty strong about that. And it turned out, I think the judges' scores backed me up on that. I felt that he was down 3-1. But the corner, he asked the corner, shows you how he's looking for something. He was a little desperate. He asked the corner, Luque, he said, is it 3-1? And the corner lied to him. I believe they lied to him. They said, no, it's 2-2. And I understand why they lied to him, because they didn't want to discourage him. But I tell you the truth. I always believe in the truth anyway. And I would have, and I understand it's not that these guys are liars or they're bad morale or bad character. It's nothing to do with that. They were doing what they thought was needed to do in the corner when you have to make decisions in the corner sometimes of what you're going to say to a fighter. And they chose to do that for the reasons they did. I would have chose to tell him the truth because he needed to be urgent. He was down, Ken. There needed to be an urgency. There needed to be almost a desperation, but definitely an urgency in his action. And he only had 1 round left, 5 minutes left to do it. So I tell you, in that same circumstance, for me, I'm no smarter than those guys. Those guys are the experts. I get it. I'm just saying from that standpoint of being a cornerman, which I've been in that position so many times in my life. I not that I'm right all the time, but I think I would have chose to say, hey, no, it's 3-1. And you better freaking get out there and make something happen. You better freaking get going, babe. Yeah, right now. Well, we if we don't get a knockout, we at least need some serious damage right now, because You're losing otherwise. So I would have said, hey, no, it's 3-1, and you better get freaking moving. You better get on his backside. But tremendous, not the most scintillating fight in the world, I know, what we usually expected UFC, but interesting. An interesting chess match in a way where one guy was playing chess and the other guy was playing checkers, and Mr. Muhammad was playing chess, and he had a hell of a chess game.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, the whole card, per usual, was exciting for the UFC. One other thing we didn't have on the docket, but I don't even know if you had seen it, but Isaac Cruz, oh my God, he put it on Gamboa. Gamboa hopefully doesn't fight again. Did you see that one?
Yeah, I did. Ken, no, it's okay. Ken, listen, I saw it was sad because how long are they going to let this guy go? Because he's a game guy. He was a gold medalist in the Olympics for the national Cuban team, which was the best team in the world in the amateurs. And he was a world champion featherweight. I don't know if he won it at junior lightweight too. He was the most significant fight that Crawford had when Crawford was just getting, up there to the level that he's at now. I mean, when Crawford was really just starting to make himself known, that was a big win for him. And he got tested in that fight. Crawford got hurt, actually, in that fight by Gamboa. Gamboa always had lightning speed. He could punch. I mean, he, like I said, he was a world champion. He was a gold medalist. And to see him now at 40, he's been knocked down, I think, 20 times. I think the commentators said, amazing heart, amazing resiliency, recuperative power, amazing. Even when he got hurt at the end, which I'm glad they stopped it. Even he in between the time that he was looked like he was out to the time the referee got to him, he recuperated. It was extraordinary. But listen, he's 40. He's taken these kind of punches for a long time now. When is enough? No, really, I love the guy. Right. But when is enough? When does someone say, hey, no more? I mean, really, when he don't get up?
Yeah, but that's indicative of boxing. Like whoever's controlling him is probably like, hey, one more payday. What the hell? Let's keep going until he's so compromised he can't do anything else for work for the rest of his life. But nevertheless, I saw it after the fight. Ryan Garcia's calling Isaac Cruz out, so that would be an interesting fight. What do you think of Garcia versus Cruz?
It's a good style fight for Garcia. It's an interesting fight. It's a fun fight to visualize in my mind that I would like to watch because
me too.
Style-wise, Ryan Garcia has the right style. He can stand on the outside. He's got long arms. Obviously, he's taller and longer than Cruz, who's kind of short. But Cruz, give him credit. He dips, he slips, he sets up his punches, but they're wide. And Garcia is more of a laser point puncher. He really is, and for the most part. And he's a guy. He's a guy that is a real good sharpshooter, and he likes to catch you coming in. That's what he prefers, Garcia. That's his mentality, and his style fits that mentality. His skill sets fit that mentality. Where if he's got his druthers, he stands on the outside, pop, pop, pop. He sharpshoots you coming in, keeps the range, keeps the distance, makes you pay for real estate. Has a chance with that good kind of left hook to get it in between one of those wide shots. Really, has a good chance to do that. Even a straight right hand in between one of the wide left hooks. So I see Garcia wanting to take that fight. I can see why the style makes sense for him to take it. I'd still like to see it because this Cruz is a gutsy guy. He's just coming into his own. What really made him was losing to Giante Davis in a very competitive way, much more competitive than anybody thought the fight was going to be. And so he's hot right now, Cruz. He's fan-friendly. The network obviously likes him. And I'm sure that fight probably could be made, I would think. And it would be fun to watch because I give the edge to Garcia, but I also would find it interesting if Cruz with his heart, and he seems to have a good chin, if he could get in there, back up Garcia, get past that jab of Garcia's, get past some of the danger at the front steps. And if he could get into those back steps, get past some of the danger at the front door and get into the get in past that front door, I think that it could be interesting with those wide shots he throws with power and he throws with bad intentions, where maybe he can catch Garcia backing up, and really, then it would be fun to watch. So yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Yeah, couple of other topics before we sign off. We had Jake Paul on. For anyone who hasn't seen that interview, go back and watch it. Posted last week. Super fun interview. Whether you like him or hate him, I think you'll find it interesting. Like Muhammad Ali, you can love him, you can hate him, but everyone shows up to watch and everyone's interested in him. But he mentioned on our show that one of his candidates or one of the potential fights he's thinking about having is Michael Bisping. Now, Bisping is missing an eye. I mean, like, I'm not trying to be funny. He has one, like, he's blind in an eye, and he has a prosthetic eye. And I love Michael Bisping. Actually, we'd love to have him on the show too to address what's going on.
How could that fight be approved by any commission?
Well, I think Bisping was saying, let's do it on an Indian reservation.
Bisping is he's a warrior.
He's a savage.
He's a savage.
The problem
warrior.
is, I think the problem for Bisping is, if he really wants that fight, is he did a good job of faking his way through and bullshitting the doctors when he was getting scanned and getting tested. And he has said that. He's like, look, I did everything I could to pass those tests, even though I couldn't see. And he just did a documentary about it.
Well, there was a particular fight, though. There was a particular junction in his career where he wasn't blind up to that junction, up to a fight where he got injured. If my memory serves me correct, he got injured in a particular fight. He got a detached retina. And then he got it, I believe he got it taken care of. And then he fought again. And then maybe it was his last fight of his career, I'm not sure. But then later in his career, obviously, he got injured again. I think it was, I don't know if it was the same eye. I believe it was. Yeah, I guess it was. And so he got injured again. So he didn't have it his whole career, I guess, to the point that I'm trying to make. But look, he's a warrior. It makes me think, if you really go back in the history of the sport, one of the greatest, not UFC, but boxing, Harry Greb, Ken, one of my favorite fighters, middleweight, the Pittsburgh Windmill. I mean, just never stopped throwing punches. What a savage. You talk about savage, yeah, Bisping could be his cousin. They're cousin savages. I mean, and one in boxing, one in UFC, where Harry Greb, he never stopped. He never stopped. And he fought, we don't know how many fights, but he had about 300 fights, Ken. And we think, the historians believe, that he fought maybe 100 of them with one eye. And you got to remember, back in those days, detached retina was a big difference than it is today. You know what I mean? Where you could go in there with laser surgery. I mean, we're talking about the 20s. We're talking about the 30s, 20s, 20s, I guess, where you didn't go in there with laser surgery. You know what I mean? You might go in there with a pitchfork or something. I don't know, but not laser surgery. And he, again, you're talking about fake your way and, being a warrior and finding a way, whatever. They look, they didn't have, obviously, the medical procedures and, ability to be able to find something wrong with you the way they could today. Obviously they didn't have that technology, but still, imagine he fought about 100 fights. And we're talking about back in the day when there were nothing but good fighters and they were all fighting each other, all of them. And he fights all those fights with one eye. So, yeah, there's a history to this stuff. But now in this day and age, I don't know. Even on an Indian reservation, where obviously they are governed by themselves, so they don't have to adhere to the rules that are out there to everyone else necessarily. I get it, but I don't know. I don't know if that could happen. But I know Bisping is the kind of guy that'd be game for it. That's he'd be game for it. He's like Carmen Basilio. After Carmen Basilio fought Robinson in a rematch, he beat him the first time. He fought Robinson in a rematch, Ken, and he looked like the Cyclops. His eye was like, it was even worse than Ugas's. I mean, forget about it. And he obviously couldn't see. And back then, it was the biggest sport in the country, bigger than baseball. So all the writers are there. And so as soon as the fight's over, they said, Carmen. And they're giving him a little bit of a chance to have a little excuse, whatever you want to call it, explanation for losing a fight. They said, Carmen, you only have one eye. If you had two eyes, would you have won the fight? Is it because you only had one eye? And he goes, no. He goes, the other eye was working fine. he goes, that was no problem. He goes, but one eye was closed. You couldn't see. No, yeah, but the other one was good. And that was the mentality.
In the NHL, you cannot play if you have been called legally blind in one eye. You're out. No playing. Period. End of story. It's not even a discussion. It's not like, let me get a waiver. No.
I'm just talking about the attitude of.
Yeah. No. I know what you mean.
Bisping has that same attitude. Like, no, I get it. The medical department of things, side of things, has to stand up. I get it, but there's got to be rules. I mean, there's got to be some rules.
One way I think they could get around is if they called it an exhibition and put it someplace like an Indian reservation, because that's a big money fight.
Listen, you know what makes it? I don't want to be gruesome here, but I will, because we're down that road a little bit. As long as we're talking, because we know people we're at the point where if you put a Spider-Man 20, they're going to watch it. People want that kind of entertainment. They want to see monster movies. They want their minds to be able to go out there to the greatest peaks of imagination possible. They want to soar to places where, crazy places. If you want to really make sure that it's a mega hit, you know what you do? Bisping take his eye out. No, I'm just saying.
Well, I think
as long as we're in this conversation, as long as we're here in this room of conversation, right? Because either way, we understand he's only got this special man that he is. And by the way, they just did a special documentary on him. It's incredible. From everything I've heard, I haven't seen it, but everything I've heard, Ken, it's incredible. Quite a man. But if you ever did that, and you took the eye out, and you had him go in there, boy, oh boy. I mean, there'd be standing room only. I don't know that there'd be any standing room. You couldn't get a big enough place.
I saw that documentary, and it's incredible. Michael Bisping has an incredible story. I also read his book. I mean, he's had a wild life, like really wild life. And I know some crazy people, but man, Michael Bisping has been through a lot. And big fan of Bisping. One other thing, before we get into I want to quickly discuss the Fury Dillian Whyte fight. But before I do, I just want to give a shout out to our number one sponsor, Athletic Greens. Obviously, I've been taking my Athletic Greens prior to the race. Just took it when I got back first thing after exercise. I always take Athletic Greens. 75 whole food sourced ingredients. It's an insurance policy for your body's health and immunity. Do yourself a favor and get some Athletic Greens, especially if you're working hard, training. Even if you're not training, if you're just working hard, staying out late, hopefully not drinking too much. But if you are, you need to make sure you're getting the right vitamins, minerals, nutrients, et cetera, et cetera. Athletic Greens has you covered. Like I said, consider it insurance policy if you're not doing the right things. And if you are doing the right things, it can't hurt to add that insurance level.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go to athleticgreens.com and use the promo code ATLAS for 10 free travel packs with your first purchase. Athleticgreens.com, promo code Atlas, 10 free travel packs with your first purchase. The travel packs are invaluable. Yeah, what were you going to say, Teddy?
Yeah, you got my attention, really, when you said, for all purposes, like to rejuvenate yourself, to rehydrate you, to get the nutrients that if you're in an emergency situation, if you're out too late drinking, anything, whatever, maybe take a deal away. I don't know why, but he could use that stuff. You know what I mean? Because,
sure.
he went through a bad patch there where he wasn't looking good, and obviously he was out late, maybe doing something. I'm not sure what, but it seemed like
the guy had like teen idol, marquee good looks. Now he looks like bloated like a tick, like he just got off a cruise. Ate too much, though.
I mean, when he was going through that bad patch, whatever, and he was obviously doing something kind of late at night. He could have used some of that stuff, and he might need it because Jake Paul, who you just talked about, was on our show doing a nice interview. I think it was a great peek at who he really is behind the curtain, so to speak, when you get away from, obviously all the promotional stuff and all that jazz. But as far as a man, as far as a person, I think the interview was enlightening in a lot of ways that way. But he mentioned De La Hoya as a possible opponent. So, maybe you should send us some of the greens that you have.
I know. I feel bad because I couldn't help but interrupt. But when he said De La Hoya, I couldn't help but to jump in and be like, "Stop, please, stop, enough!" Like after seeing that last thing where he was supposed to fight someone else, and then he does the video in a hospital bed. Oh, I'm recovering from COVID. Like what? I bet all the tea in China that was staged. Maybe it wasn't, but that's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. But nevertheless, we recorded a fight plan for Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte. It's going to be out Thursday. But just for a quick preview of that, Teddy, what should people be looking for in that fight? And again, the fight plan is up on Thursday. We're in the ring in Trinity Boxing Club back home in New York. The fight plan's awesome. You guys are going to love it. But for a quick preview, just tell people what they should look for in that one.
Danger and Fury. I think there's danger. I think it's a real legitimate fight. He's a big guy. I know he's been knocked out twice there in Whyte. You wonder about his chin. He always gets hurt before the fight's over. Not always, but at a certain level, he's been hurt a couple of times before the fight's over, but he's recovered except twice. But so he's showing heart. But he gets hurt out of nowhere, like before a fight ends. And usually it's because he's doing obviously something wrong, but more importantly, he doesn't see the punch. But listen, he's a big guy. He can counter a little bit. And Fury just decides. Fury is very dimensional, and he showed us those dimensions. He can go get you, and he can box. So if he decides to go get him, he better go get him the right way, behind the jab, the right way, in the right space, because he can counter a little bit. Dillian Whyte, he can bang. He's a good puncher. He's a good body puncher. Like I said, he's a big son of a gun. I know how big Fury is, but Whyte is a big man. He's very experienced now. And you'd have to figure he's waited a long time now. He had a title shot a long time ago. He wasn't ready probably against Joshua. He got stopped in that fight, I think, around 5 rounds. But now, as years later, he's very experienced. He had to wait an awful long time as a mandatory. I mean, he was waiting since before, like, Joe Louis was born. It was crazy. And but he finally got the shot. Now, the second shot at the title. He figures he's got to be hungry. He knows this is his last shot. He's got to make the most of it. It's home cooking for both guys. Over there across the pond in Wembley Stadium, 100,000 people. They're both from over there. I think he's right from London, Fury, but in that area where he's lived most of his life anyway. But there are things I think you'll find very interesting in a fight plan, that both guys give the other guy a chance to capitalize on him. And if they do, the fight could suddenly end. They both have flaws, even though Fury's undefeated. We've seen him on the floor, but we've also seen him rise from the dead on the floor. He's He's extraordinary that way. We also saw him rise from the floor again against Wilder, a second time in the third fight. So we, at the end of the day, it should be a competitive fight. He better be ready, Fury. I know that sounds silly. You're always ready when you get in the ring, but sometimes we're human. Sometimes you overlook a guy, especially when you're on a streak of winning like Fury is. He better not overlook this guy Whyte. It would be a huge, hey, you overlook anyone, it's a huge mistake potentially, but it would be a huge mistake if he overlooked him. Like I said, I think the fight plan shows you some things that each guy can do to win the fight. There was opportunities for both guys to win. And that's what makes it a fight that's worth watching, that both guys, you can make an argument that both guys can win. I'll finish with this. There's an X factor hanging in the air that just happened. And the X factors can be flies and ointments sometimes. And, is Fury's mind jumbled up a little bit now? I know he's survived everything. He survived suicidal thoughts with substance abuse and great depression that he went through. Give him credit for that. That he went through a couple of years of that, and he was able to defeat that. You figure a guy defeat that. I mean, he's been in the darkest places that a human being can be in, and he found a way to find light. So he might be untouchable with this stuff. Maybe. I don't think anyone's untouchable. It depends on what point in your life, too. For me, the X factor would be is Fury's mind jumbled up with all the stuff flying around him about Daniel Kinahan, the drug cartel head, who was Fury's friend and advisor, for some years, and he was just sanctioned and named by the United States Treasury Department, as the head of one of Europe's biggest drug cartels. And you don't want the U.S. government coming down on you.
Teddy, is that bad? It sounds bad. I'm just asking for a friend. Is that bad if you're in business with the head of a drug cartel?
I don't think it's good.
It sounds bad. I don't know. Like I said, someone was asking me.
I don't think it's... I mean, listen, ask Aram. Aram was obviously in business with him because he represents Fury with ESPN, obviously, and of course, Frank Warren. They brought him over to ESPN. It's been great for ESPN. I mean, they paid him a lot of money to get him, but it's been great for ESPN being able to have the heavyweight champ, the linear heavyweight champ, and a guy who's a great promoter, a guy who's a character, a guy who's maybe the biggest star, maybe bigger star than Canelo right now in boxing. So, yeah, it's been great. And obviously, Aram was doing business with Kinahan. It's not just Fury to him. But now, look, now that the United States government has stepped in,
Department of Justice,
the Department of Justice and Treasury has stepped in.
They usually spend a lot of time chasing their tails and sending up false flags against drug cartels.
Yeah, well,
isn't that ESPN?
So,
ESPN, isn't that Disney? Disney, who just canceled any reference to gender as boys and girls. They have no problem with someone who's under investigation for being the head of a drug cartel. Again, I don't know. I'm asking for a friend. Someone asked me this.
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like Murderers Inc. meets Mother Goose. I don't know, or Daffy Duck, or Minnie Mouse, or Mickey Mouse. But I don't know.
I see boxing people on Twitter, big boxing personalities that are involved in the sport, defending his involvement in the sport. And again, I don't know him from a hole in the wall. I've never met him. I don't know anything about him. But I know if the DOJ is investigating you and accusing you of these things, doesn't mean it's true. But they usually get convictions. You usually don't get found innocent when the FBI or the Department of Justice comes for you. But I see people with big personalities and big presence in the boxing world on Twitter, especially defending him and saying like, no, he's a good guy. He's been nothing but good for boxing. I guess the other transgressions can be.
Well, I mean, listen, it's, if it's true, and a guy is what they say this guy is, there's nothing good there. I mean, your product kills people, kills children, destroys families, it kills people. So I don't see how you defend that. But listen, human beings can defend anything if there's an agenda attached to it, or there's a reason for themselves and self-preservation or self-profit, whatever. I don't know. I'm not here to judge anybody. I can only say what I believe in, and what I believe right and wrong doesn't make me right. It just makes me of those beliefs. That's all. But at the end of the day, does this stuff, everybody's right. You're talking about some people that defend them, but meanwhile, Arum ain't one of them. He quickly, what's that old saying? The rats are fleeing the ship pretty fast. He found a life raft really fast to get off that ship, because he understands better than most what it means when the Justice Department comes after you. That's where he started. He was a Harvard graduated lawyer who started with the Justice Department, many, 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 many years ago, before he became a promoter. When they were investigating the mob controlling boxing, the Keyfalp investigation, I believe it was called, way, way back when Frankie Carbo and Blinky Palermo used to control boxing. And, they got involved, and they got those guys out of it pretty fast once they got involved. But he was a young lawyer out of Harvard that was working with the Justice Department. You want to hear the story, the legendary story? I don't know if it's accurate. I don't know if any of it's accurate. I know that it's plausible, and it's a good story. He was working for the Justice Department, Arum, obviously a brilliant guy out of Harvard Law School, and they're investigating, these mobsters that were running boxing, and supposedly when it started to wind down, the investigation started to wind down, and obviously Arum was privy to all this information that was out there, that they were going after him about with the mob and everything. Supposedly, the legend has it that Arum went back to his office, whatever, and said to somebody, "If these dopes can steal that much money, imagine how much I could steal." And the next day, he put in for his promotional license, and he said, and he handed his letter of resignation to the Justice Department. I don't know. Ken, I don't know. I just know that we try to tell our fans whatever we know, and maybe they enjoy that story. It is a kind of a funny story to hear. Who knows? But Arum, many decades later, is still around, and he knew one thing. Nobody had to tell him twice to disconnect himself and disavow himself in every way to a guy who a few months ago was saying, "Oh, he's a great guy."
That's
right.
I
mean, he's on videotape.
100%.
He's a great guy. I trust him. He's a great partner.
You know the expression, Teddy. Yeah, I was lying then. Today I'm telling the truth.
Well, that's Arum. That is Arum's quote. That is owned by Arum. That is owned by Arum.
Well, listen, I hope that everyone enjoyed this one. It's a short one. Again, it's my fault. I'm sorry. I'm in Boston and I'm scrambling around. I'm now going to try and run over to these award ceremonies. I appreciate you doing this with me, Teddy. Thank you. Thank the fans, guys. Appreciate you guys being with us. And Thursday, fight plan, Tyson Fury, Dillian Whyte, going to be a good one. And I think you'll enjoy the fight plan. So thanks everyone for being with us. And we'll see you guys on Thursday.